Before I touch on the next 200 million people, you spoke about the AI aspect,
Yeah.
right? Where do you see that discussion, I guess, pushing or evolving over time? How do you feel about Africa's place, right, when it comes to the AI discussion? I've spoken to investment bankers, for example, that are backing, you know, telco infrastructure projects, and they tell me, listen, because of the developmental agenda, the base thing is let's at least make sure people are connected. This thing of trying to put down $500 billion down for, AI and all of that stuff, that's a higher order aspect that can only come if you've taken care of, some of the basic needs that are on the continent. But I'm keen to get, some of your thoughts around that, because I'm sure that then informs, part of your own even capital allocation, framework going forward, because AI is fueling data usage, it's fueling data center usage, cloud computing, all of this stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. No, look, I mean, I reflect on that very deeply. And to me, it's not an or, I think it's an and.
Okay.
So we must invest in building the digital infrastructure, the pipes that enable people to be connected. You know our own aspirations about fiber across the continent and so forth. Our digital infrastructure strategy is talking to exactly that thing that
Yeah.
you just mentioned, which is, base connectivity. Let's get the plumbing in place, and that and many people can afford. I thought you want to talk about satellites as well, but
Yes, they also, feed into that. Yeah.
absolutely. So you're absolutely right. The core connectivity thing is super important. But I don't think we as Africans must sit back and say, what we're seeing in the global north, let's leave it to them. Let's leave it to them in this, arms race around AI, digestion of languages into kind of natural languages into these LLMs, to create kind of a native engagement of humans, with AI, and solutions come out in a generative sense. We can't leave that to say, well, that's the global north. I think if we do, there's a huge risk of what I talk about as creating a digital underclass of Africans.
Okay.
And we
That
must
doesn't sound good.
so we must resist that thought process that says, well, this is a global north issue. Because at the pace at which these technologies are growing, in 3 to 5 years, we could feel like we're a decade or two behind. And then what? And then what do you do with this youth bulge you have in Africa? 2050, what's the largest workforce that the world will have? It'll be
Africa.
Africans.
Yeah.
So we must be obsessed and paranoid about not being left behind.
Yeah.
And therefore, I tell my colleagues, I'm at night school, reskilling myself as a CEO to try and understand what's going on. I'm figuring out how does VO3 and Gemini 2.5, as an example,
Yeah.
all work out, and how can that make me a more effective CEO?
Yeah.
How can technologies of that nature make us more productive? What products and new solutions can we create? So I think we need to be a little bit paranoid about that, because if we're not careful, you can end up having what I call the Kodak moments, where you got a really great business, you got a great model, you got your position in the market, and all of a sudden you're not needed.
Yeah.
And Kodak missed that moment when cell phones probably moved from the kind of 2G to 3G era, was that inflection point where, man, you don't need Polaroid anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think if we as Africans, or more generally in the telecommunications space, don't see this as potentially a Kodak moment, I think we're asleep at the wheel, properly.